Seven o'clock, Your Worship.
Good evening and welcome. I call this regular council meeting of November the 21st, 2022, 7 p.m. to order. And this is my first council meeting. And to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Chehalis. The corporate officer, next order of business, please.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Do you have any late items?
I do. Councillor Buckley has a discussion regarding the rank, which requires a motion. Do I have a mover? Councillor Facio. Councillor Facio moves. Or second, sorry.
Excuse me, Your Worship.
Do I have a seconder? Yes.
Your Worship.
Councillor Jackson. Yes. Sorry.
Sorry, thank you. Where would you like that late item to be on the agenda?
To add to new business, please.
Okay, you want that as new business?
Under new business.
Thank you, okay.
And call the question. All in favor? Unanimous. Carried. Addition to new business, the mayor has additional commissions and snow removal. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Buckley, second by Councillor Vidal. Call the question. All in favor? Was that unanimous? Councillor Facio? Yes, thank you. Thank you. You're fast on me. Okay. To the corporate clerk, next order of business, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just for clarification for information, those items for new business are later on in the agenda.
Yes.
So we can deal with them at that time, or would you like me to move them to new business?
No, we can deal with them during the new business.
Okay, thank you. Can I have approval of the agenda as amended then, please?
Do we have a mover?
I move, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Facio, moved seconder by Councillor Jackson. Call the question. All in favor? Unanimous. Nobody opposed. To the corporate clerk, next order of business, please.
Thank you. We have adoption of council minutes. We have the first minutes or the inaugural council meeting minutes of November 7, 2022 here for adoption.
Do we have a mover?
Move, Mr. Mayor.
So moved by Councillor Vidal and second by
I believe that Councillor Facio moved the motion.
okay, I didn't see he's too fast for me. You have to slow down.
I move, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. So moved by Councillor Facio and seconded by Councillor Vidal. Errors or omissions? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Nobody opposed? I didn't quite see your hand, Councillor Jackson. Thank you. Carried. Next order of business, corporate clerk.
Thank you. The next set of minutes are the special council meeting minutes of November 15, 2022, also here for adoption.
Thank you. Seeing none. Thank you. Call the question. All in favor? No.
Thank you.
Next order of business, corporate clerk.
Yes, do we have any business arising from the minutes?
Seeing none, we will move on.
Thank you.
Next order of business.
So we have no items on the consent agenda. There are no delegations or petitions. We have one item of correspondence, and that's a letter dated October 18, 2022 from the Community Futures North Fraser. That's regarding a request to have a staff employee or council liaison representative to the Community Futures North Fraser Board of Directors. That item is here for receipt. I require a motion. Thank you.
Move receipt, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Facio, second by Councillor Jackson. Discussion? No discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Unanimous. Passes. Next order of business, please.
Thank you. We'll move on to number 9. Is there any business arising from that correspondence?
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes, Councillor Facio.
as they requested a liaison or an employee or council, I would like to make a motion that Councillor Vidal be appointed as liaison to the Community Futures North Fraser.
You have a seconder? Yeah. Councillor Jackson, second. Discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Unanimous. Passes. To the corporate clerk, next order of business, please.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is reports of councilors, committees, committee of the whole, and commissions.
Councillor Vidal.
Thank you, Mayor Wood. November 11th, I had the privilege of attending the Remembrance Day ceremonies at Stolo and laid a wreath on behalf of the village for new council members here and members in our gallery. This is something that Harrison does on an annual basis. And I wanted to just explain a little bit that a very different ceremony than what we're used to, and for those that attended at the Legion, but equally as moving. You spend about the first hour at Stolo in the Longhouse, where they have a ceremony with drumming and dancing. And then you move out to their cenotaph, which is just a beautiful piece that has been carved. And wreath laying takes place there, and every participant is given a small cedar bough with a poppy that we lay around the cenotaph, and then back for a lunch and some fellowship. So on November 15th, I did attend special council meeting. November 17th, I attended the Agassiz Harrison Healthy Communities meeting. Couple of items I wanted to make note of. District of Kent is sponsoring their Magic of Christmas at Pioneer Park in Agassiz, scheduled on December 10th. And on December 13th in the evening, and this will be done coinciding with Santa. They're not doing a breakfast with Santa this year. So if you would like to register, please get a hold or contact District of Kent, and you can have a visit with Santa at the museum and pick up a gift if you're registered. The holiday train, yay, once again, is coming back to Agassiz. And that is scheduled on December 17th. Don't have an exact time yet, but please check District of Kent website as the day gets further along. I also, Fraser Health attended the meeting, and they do want to make sure that everyone is aware that COVID is still circulating in our community. And there will be a COVID booster and flu vaccine clinic held at the Agricultural Hall in Agassiz on November 23rd. Also on November 17th, I attended local Lower Mainland Local Government Association board meeting, and just wanted to make note so council can put on their calendars that our 2023 conference dates are May 3rd to 5th and be held here in Harrison at the resort. That's my report. Mayor Wood, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Vidal. Councillor Facio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a brief report on the Fraser Health meeting of the 10th of November. In the Chilliwack Mall near London Drugs, there is now a new Fraser Health Immunization Centre there. I believe it's the unit that used to have the flight centre where that used to be. Agassiz pharmacies without appointments now are giving you the shots when it's flu or the boosters. Through the pandemic, 7,000 health workers were hired. The ambulance service between Boston Bar to Agassiz, we're told they've added 8 new positions, because I brought up the question of how's the ambulance service in Boston Bar, which was in dire need at one point, but they seem to have sorted that out. The new primary care clinics now opened up in Port Moody and Burnaby, and of course we do have one in Chilliwack as well that opened up earlier this year. Doctor recruiting is still continuing. They're focusing more on the foreign arrivals who come here with the health credentials to get them moving along to take over the long waiting list of patients. And that is all for now from the Fraser Health. There won't be another meeting now to the new year. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Facio. Councillor Buckley.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. I attended on Saturday evening the Tourism Festival of Lights that they put on for the last few years with my wife as a representative for council. And I was overwhelmed with the amount of people that had come. I have it on fairly good information that over 2,500 people attended this function. And to see the lights throw and smiles on the kids' face with the Sasquatch and being pictures taken, it was just a wonderful event. And I also would like to thank all of their volunteers and all the staff for a job well done. And also to Lisa Kenny, who organized the pet parade for the Christmas. They marched from the plaza down to the skating rink, and the pets were all decorated up with glow lights and bells and various Christmas attire. But it was just a wonderful event, and I just want to say thank you very much. And it was thoroughly enjoyed by a lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Buckley. Councillor Jackson. Don't think it's quite on.
Thank you. Yes, Your Worship. I really don't have anything to report. It's all been said here already. When the time comes in the next council meeting, I'm just going to be reporting on what's happening in Harrison. I think we need to pay more attention to Harrison than external. So that's all I have tonight, and I'll be speaking again at later meetings. Thank you.
Looking forward to that. Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Next order of business, please.
Yes,
Or-
thank you. We'll move on to number 11, reports from the mayor.
So I was privileged and honored to represent the village in placing a wreath at the Agassiz Cenotaph for Remembrance Day to honor all that served this country today. I would like to thank the fire chief and his team of volunteers who also placed a wreath at the cenotaph. I have a number of family members who have served this country. It was a very big honor for me to represent this village. Thank you for that. Lights by the Lake official ceremony on Saturday was well attended, as Councillor Buckley, thank you, Councillor Buckley acknowledged. It was great weather. Just again, great thank you to the Tourism Harrison River Valley and the volunteers that made it happen. The Miami River Stream Keepers Society has an upcoming chum salmon release into the Miami River. It's tomorrow at 11 o'clock at the McCombs Bridge. They don't know which bridge it'll be because it'll depend on what the water levels are, and the public are invited to attend that. So the chum salmon, these are full size salmon that are going to be released, I believe, for the first time into our river in a long time. So that's a welcome thought and great work to the Miami Stream Keepers Society. Let's talk recycling. We are somewhat unique in that we do not have a recycling depot in our community. We're not the same as Chilliwack or Victoria. A unique community requires unique situations. We need your help. We know that the new regulations about the recycling of soft plastics is a problem for some. New regulations require that recycling can no longer be contaminated with soft plastics. Anything that you can poke a finger through or that will not restore to its original shape when you ball it up, it contaminates the recycling system, streams, and jams up the separating equipment, resulting in costly downtime. You could really help us by taking time to ensure that there's no soft plastics in your recycling. Currently, the best option for soft plastics is the recycling depot in Agassiz, but we are also going to be looking for other solutions. We appreciate your patience while we look for a solution that works best for the residents in this village. Next item. I would like to thank the residents that have moved their parked cars from McCombs, which were obstructing traffic and creating a safety concern of the many residents. To the corporate clerk, next order of business, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll move on to number 12, reports from staff. The first report on the agenda is a request from the Harrison Festival Society requesting council to consider changes to regular council meeting dates. As a result of a letter of request received in May of this year, the previous council referred this matter to the new council. So accordingly, the letter from the Harrison Festival Society is attached for council's consideration.
Thank you. So I move to allow community groups to use Memorial Hall on weekends and for staff to inform the Harrison Festival Society accordingly. I request a seconder, please. Seconded by Councillor Buckley. Discussion. No Councillor Vidal.
Thank you, Mayor Wood. I would like to direct a question to our corporate officer, please. I was on council when this issue first came forward, and I'm going to ask our corporate officer if she could just explain once again, maybe to new council members, what sort of like the difficulty was that the Festival Society put forward regarding, and I believe it had something to do with being able then to get the Memorial Hall ready again for meetings on Monday evenings, which was why it would have been difficult for the Festival Society to hold a concert on the Saturday evening before. Thank you.
And thank you, Councillor Vidal. Unfortunately, Rhonda is away and she looks after the bookings for Memorial Hall. But the festival had requested that council change their meeting dates because we had blocked them off for those particular weekends to allow for our staff to go back in and set up the facility here for preparation for our council meetings. So that's my understanding at this time. I can provide further information to you, but at a later time, but.
All right, thank you.
Oh, sorry, carry on. Oh,
Discussion.
Mr. Mayor?
Councillor,
Thank you.
Councillor Passio.
Yeah, I was present when Andy came to us from the festival, and his request was basically to change the day from Monday, and I think we were discussing like Wednesday at the time, but it was left to the new council to make that decision. So I think they'd be quite happy if there was a date change for them, make it easier for them. There is quite a bit of work to be done to set this place up after there's been an event in the hall. So I think that was the idea behind it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Buckley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Fascio, could you sort of let me know a little bit more about how much the time frame is to have to set up before the meeting on Monday that they're concerned about? And also, I spoke with Mr. Schultz, who is very well informed with the audio visual and thing before the meeting this evening. And he said it would be possible if for the time that it did run into a schedule conflict that we could purchase a small camera that we could do very similar to our all candidates meeting. At that time, Zoom would not be available, but we would able to film it and we would able to put it on YouTube and it would be recorded. Just the Zoom would not function for just those times that we would be in conflict with them for their summer meetings, because during the summertime, we only have 3 meetings, I believe. And rather than change the days from a Monday to the Wednesday, I would prefer to keep them at a Monday and work it out by going back to the village council chambers.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Councillor Buckley. Councillor Passio.
May I suggest that we table this? I don't think they need any changes before the new year, as far as I know from Andy on this. I think maybe we should table this and get a cost estimate first and who's going to be the person operating the camera, and whether the festival would still prefer the change of day. It seemed to me at the time they were more for having the date changed. It was more beneficial to them. That's all I can say from the words that came from the festival, and Andy was doing the presentation for the delegation. So I would suggest that maybe we should want to make a motion to table this to a later date, get more information. Oh, corporate officer's got a hand up through you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Yes, Your Worship, if I may I suggest that this matter be referred back to staff and we could provide council with a fulsome report at that time.
I would agree with that, Mr. Mayor.
So the amendment is to refer back to staff. So do I have a seconder? And yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, just through you to the corporate officer, I believe that there was an initial motion put on the table. That was done by Mayor Wood. Do we need to have that motion voted on? Before we move to another motion as presented by Councillor Facio. Thank you.
Your worship, if you and your seconder are in agreement to withdraw that motion and you want to refer it back to staff, I would be comfortable with that.
I am okay with that, yes. Let's refer back to staff. So call the question.
I'm sorry, your worship, is there a seconder to the Councillor Facio's motion?
Yes, I thought Councillor Buckley.
Thank you very much.
And then call the question. All in favor? To refer to staff. Council.
Your worship,
I,
when you have a tabling motion,
yes.
normally there's no discussion on it. You have to call the question on the table if it's been seconded. So I think we really have to deal with that first. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. To the corporate officer, she has something. Yeah.
Just a point of clarification for council. If Councillor Facio was agreeable to with yourself to withdraw the first motion, Councillor Facio then made a motion to refer back to staff. Correct. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Are you agreeable to that, Councillor Jackson? Councillor Facio was agreeable to not tabling the matter and to refer it back to staff.
I heard Councillor Facio say table the motion, not refer the motion. So, I mean, what is it? Are we tabling it or are we referring it? Because there is a difference.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I changed the motion to refer to staff.
But you had a seconder, so you've got to take the other one off.
We did take one off, I believe.
We did take it off.
Yeah.
Yes. Councillor Facio had asked for a table, but he continued, and I allowed him to continue where he made the suggestion that it be referred back to staff. So the motion was to refer it back to staff.
Whatever your worship.
So I called the question and I saw 3 hands. So it was Councillor Buckley, Councillor Facio, and Councillor Vidal. And opposed to Councillor Jackson? Oh, okay, so it was unanimous, sorry. Councillor Jackson, so passed unanimously. To the corporate clerk then, next order of business.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll move on to the next report. And this is regarding the 2023 regular council meeting schedule. This is subject to section 127(1) of the community charter. Council must prepare a schedule for the dates and times, places of regular council meetings for the next regular calendar year. Due to the closure of the village office during the holiday season and New Year's Day being January 2nd, 2023, the first council meeting is scheduled to be held on Monday, January 16, 2023. Accordingly, I have attached the draft proposed schedule for council's consideration. Recommendation is that the proposed regular council meeting schedule for 2023 be approved as submitted.
Thank you. Do I have a mover? Councillor Buckley. And a seconder, sorry, was Vidal. Discussion. No discussion, call the question. All in favor? Passes unanimously. Next order of business, please, corporate clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll move on to the next report. This is regarding deputy mayor appointments for 2023. Also pursuant to 131 of the community charter, council must, in accordance with its applicable procedure bylaw, provide for the designation of council to act in the place of mayor. The mayor may nominate and council must appoint a council member to act in the place of mayor when the mayor is absent or otherwise unable to act, or when the office of mayor is absent. We have a recommendation, your worship, that the following members of council be appointed as deputy mayor for 2023. It is quarter segments. It's up to you, your worship. Who would you like to appoint for those periods of time?
I would, for January to March, Councillor Buckley. April to June, Councillor Jackson. July to September, Councillor Facio. And October to December, Councillor Vidal. Do I have a mover? Moved by Jackson, Councillor Jackson. Second by Councillor Buckley. Discussion? See none. Call the question. All in favor? Passes unanimous. Next order of business, Corporate Clerk.
Thank you, your worship. We'll move on to the next report. This is regarding the Fraser Valley Regional Board, District Board, Fraser Valley Regional District Hospital Board Directors and Alternates. Appointment of representatives for the board and hospital board directors and alternates are a requirement under Section 198 of the Local Government Act, stating that each municipal director is to be appointed at pleasure by the council among its members. Section 200 of the Local Government Act also states that the council of municipality may appoint a council member as an alternate director. The next meeting for the Fraser Valley Regional District Board is on November 24th, 2022. We have a recommendation this evening that council appoint an individual to fulfill the role as municipal director to the Fraser Valley Regional District and hospital boards, and that council appoint a member to fulfill the role as alternate municipal director for the Fraser Valley Regional District and hospital boards. It's at council's will. Thank you.
Thank you. So I move that council appoint Councillor Buckley to fulfill the role as municipal director of the Fraser Valley Regional District and hospital boards, and that council appoint Councillor Vidal to the role as the alternate municipal director for the Fraser Valley Regional District and hospital boards. Do I have a seconder? No seconder?
Lack of seconder, the motion fails, your worship.
Motion fails, yes. So how do we proceed with that? Councillor Vidal?
Thank you, Mayor Wood. I'm going to make a motion that Councillor Facio and Councillor Buckley be appointed as representatives to the Fraser Valley Regional District Board and the Fraser Valley Regional District Hospital Board, with Councillor Facio is serving the first 2 years and Councillor Buckley serving the last 2 years, and each of them acting as alternates during the term.
So the motion is for Councillor Facio to fulfill the role as the municipal director, and Councillor Buckley to fulfill the role as alternate. Is that?
Excuse me, Mayor Wood. No. My motion was that both Councillor Facio and Councillor Buckley split that term, that 4 years, with Councillor Facio serving in the first 2 years and Councillor Buckley serving as director on the second 2 years, and that during that term, both Councillor Facio and Councillor Buckley be appointed as alternates during the time when they're not serving as director. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Second by Councillor Jackson. Discussion? No discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Unanimous? It passes. To the corporate officer, the next order of business, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, the next report we have is regarding appointments of Fraser Valley Regional Library Board representative and alternate. Pursuant to section 17(1) of the Library Act, each municipal council must appoint a representative and alternate representative from council to be a member of the library board. A new appointment is required each November at the first meeting of council, and a member of the library board will hold an office for a term of 1 year. The first Fraser Valley Regional Library Board meeting is tentatively scheduled for November 23rd, 2022. The recommendation this evening is that council appoint a member to fulfill the role as municipal director for the Fraser Valley Regional Library Board for 2022-2023, and that council appoint a member to fulfill the role as alternate municipal director for the Fraser Valley Regional Library Board for 2022-2023.
Thank you. So,
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
I move that council appoint Councillor Jackson to fulfill the role as municipal director for the Fraser Valley Regional District Library Board, and that council appoint Councillor Facio to fulfill the role as alternate municipal director for the Fraser Valley Regional Library Board. Do I have a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Seconded by Councillor Vidal. Discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Passes unanimously. To corporate clerk, next order of business, please.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Next report is regarding signing authorities, and this is for the municipality. With the election of a new mayor and council, it is required that new signing officers be appointed. The recommendation is that one of each of the following be authorized as signing officers for the Village of Harrison Hot Springs: Mayor Ed Wood, Councillor John Buckley, Councillor Leo Facio, Councillor Alan Jackson, and Councillor Mickey Vidal.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Facio, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion? Discussion, call the question. All in favor? Passes unanimously. Next order of business to the corporate clerk.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. The next report is regarding council liaison appointments. And these are representatives to external agencies. And upon election of a new mayor and council for the municipality, there is opportunity to appoint representatives to various organizations. Each appointment should be made by a separate motion. So the recommendations this evening, if you don't mind, Your Worship, will deal with one at a time as one motion.
I would prefer that we deal with this as one, as we put these all together. So let's go with putting it as one motion. Did you want to read these off, or would you? Sorry.
For you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the first recommendation is that Councillor Jackson be appointed as council liaison to Tourism Harrison River Valley.
So I would like to add that Councillor Jackson and Mayor Wood be appointed.
If there's an amendment to that motion, I would like to deal with that separately.
Okay.
Excuse me if I may intervene, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Just as it
Councillor.
may be easier for all of council if we dealt with these individually, I think, in case there are some changes as we go along. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Facio, but let's continue. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Then the recommendation reads that Councillor Jackson and Mayor Wood be appointed as council liaison to the Tourism Harrison River Valley. That small amendment.
Yes, correct. Do I need to?
Do you have a
Do I need to
mover?
call- Do I have a mover? Moved by Counselor Buckley, second by Counselor Bedell. Question, discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Sorry. Counselor,
Thank you, Mr.
That's it.
Mayor.
I didn't see you're late.
Took me a while to get used to it. Just as, from your own perspective, in the past, we've always had a council liaison representative and one staff member on the Tourism Harrison for all the years it's been going on. It is, wouldn't just Councillor Jackson be enough to cover the position of that? From your perspective, if I may ask?
I believe that the tourism Harrison River Valley is a very important component of the village. No disrespect meant to Councillor Jackson, but I believe that the two of us working together, we could produce a lot.
Your worship, thank you. The problem, here's the problem. When I wrote the constitution up for Tourism Harrison,
Yes,
it only included one counselor. So I'm not sure whether or not the amendment would have to be made first by Tourism Harrison to include a second person. Now, as it is now, there is a counselor and a staff member because of the voting regulations that were in back in 2010, 2011. So, I mean, if you want to be on the tourist board, that's fine. I mean, it's something I've always wanted. However, if you want to be on it, that's fine, and I'll find something else to do.
corporate officer has a question.
Yes, through you, your worship. I do believe that Councillor Jackson is correct in that the board requires only one member, and we have a staff liaison as well.
I withdraw my original request. So the recommendation is that Councillor Jackson be appointed as the council liaison to tourism Harrison River Valley.
Thank you.
Councillor Buckley. Seconded.
I have that motion, your worship.
Sure,
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. To the question, call the question. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay. To the corporate clerk then?
Yes, thank you. The next recommendation is that Councillor Fidel be appointed as council liaison to the Harrison Agassiz Chamber of Commerce.
So we're going to go through these one by one.
Sorry, was I mistaken? I thought you had agreed to
Sounds like,
them separately, or?
sorry, it sounds like we should go through one by one. So sorry. So we have a mover, Councillor Jackson, and second by Councillor Facio.
Mr. Mayor,
And call the question. All in favor?
We have some discussion, please, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I'm going to respectfully decline, Mayor, with your recommendation. And we'll move that Councillor Buckley be appointed as council liaison to the Harrison Agassiz Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Do I have a mover?
oh, I'll move that, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Facio, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion. Call.
The only
Councillor-
discussion is that's fine with me.
Call the question. All in favor? Passes unanimously. To the corporate clerk, next.
Thank you. The next recommendation, your worship, is that Councillor Facio be appointed as council representative to Fraser Health.
Do I have
I
a,
accept that, Mr. Mayor.
we have a mover? Mover by Jackson,
Seconded,
Councillor Jackson.
Mr. Mayor.
Second by Councillor Vidal. Discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Passes unanimously. Corporate clerk, next.
Thank you, worship. Yes, the next recommendation is that Councillor Buckley be appointed as council liaison to the Agassiz Harrison Healthy Communities.
Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Jackson, second by Councillor Vidal. Discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Passes unanimously. Corporate clerk, next order, please.
Thank you, worship. We'll move on to the next recommendation. That is that Councillor Vidal be appointed to the Kent Harrison Joint Emergency Program Committee.
Do I have a move? Yes, moved by Councillor Jackson.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
A little faster than me. Second by Councillor Facio. Discussion? Councillor Buckley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I was reading the liaison position for the Kent Emergency Joint Program, I noticed that they are maybe looking for two people unless I misread it, and I would like to go through you to the corporate officer to see if that's the case, and if so, I then would seek nomination to be on that committee as well.
To the corporate clerk, please.
Thank you, through you to Councillor Buckley. I'm not entirely sure if you're referring to email of late or generally to the committee. I can certainly check, but typically it's been representatives, fire chief, a member of staff, and one or two council members. But I can clarify that for you.
Thank you very much. Yes, in the past, when I was last in office here, there was two of us that did attend. So if that is the case, I would be very interested again. So thank you. I'll wait to hear back. Thank you.
So are you asking for an amendment, Councillor Buckley?
I guess I sort of would be, but it's not. I am in favor of Councillor Vidal taking that position, but I would also like to piggyback in there somewhere if I can. So I'm not sure what we have to do that, but that's what I'm asking for.
To the corporate officer, please.
Yes, Your Worship, I can certainly clarify that matter, and if that is something that can be addressed, you can always do a separate appointment at a different time.
Thank you. So we've already gone through the discussion, so call the question. All in favor, come for Councillor Vidal. Unanimous, passes. Corporate clerk, next order.
Yes, Your Worship, we have another recommendation that Councillor Facio be appointed as council representative to the Mountain Institution Citizens Advisory Committee.
Sorry, Councillor.
Do I have a mover?
Yeah, I will decline that, Mr. Mayor, and I believe that Councillor Vidal may have some liking to join that committee.
Go ahead, Councillor Buckley.
Yes, Mayor, would I be pleased to sit on that committee? Thank you.
Councillor Buckley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I then move that Councillor Vidal is appointed to that committee.
And do I have a seconder? Councillor Facio. Discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Passes unanimously. Next order, corporate clerk.
Yes, your worship, the next recommendation is that a council member be appointed as the voting delegate to the Municipal Insurance Association, and that a member be appointed as the alternate voting delegate to the Municipal Insurance Association.
Thank you. I move that Councillor Jackson be appointed as the voting delegate to the Municipal Insurance Association, and that the mayor be appointed as the alternate voting delegate to the Municipal Insurance Association. Do I have a seconder?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Seconded by Councillor Vidal. Discussion?
Did you have a second? Sorry.
Yes. So I have a second.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, discussion? No discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Passes unanimously. The corporate clerk, next item.
Yes, the next recommendation we have for your worship is that a council member be appointed as a representative to the Letchmont Community to Community Forum, and that a council member be appointed as the alternate representative to the Letchmont Community to Community Forum.
Thank you. So I move that the mayor be appointed as a representative to the Letchmont community, and that Councillor Vidal be appointed as the alternate representative to the community forum. Do I have a seconder? Second by Councillor Buckley. Discussion? Discussion, call the question. All in favor? Passes unanimously. Next item, corporate clerk.
Thank you, your worship. And then lastly, that a council member be appointed as council liaison to the Agassiz Harrison Historical Society.
Thank you. So I move that the mayor be appointed as the council liaison to the Agassiz Harrison Historical Society. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Buckley. Discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Passes unanimously. Okay. To the corporate clerk, next order of business, please.
Yes, your worship. There are no bylaws on the agenda. And number 14, new business. This is where I believe Councillor Buckley and yourself brought up new business earlier on in the agenda.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Buckley. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. In regards to our skating rink, I would like to direct staff to prepare a report on the seasonal operational costs as well as the attendance for usage, if possible, with the attendance. I know that's going to be a tough one. This report would include time spent on the setup, takedown, and how many man hours are needed for maintenance for a total tally cost at season's end. And also, I would like to ask through you, Mr. Mayor, to the corporate officer, has there been a roof that was ordered for the rink? I've heard that might be the case, and I'm not sure.
To the corporate officer, could you?
Yes, your worship. I'll let our operations manager speak to that.
To date, no, there has not been a roof purchased, or even where we've been exploring options and are extremely expensive because of snow load and wind rating. We're looking at numbers that were well outside of our budget. So we're still exploring smaller structures for just for not for the rink itself, but for the patrons.
Thank you very much. If that is the case, then I would ask that we cancel looking for the roof at this time, just to see what the operation costs are going to be for the year, so we can see if it's viable or not, and weigh out the amount of usage that we have before we pursue a roofing option. And if that's all right with everybody. And another question I have is I found out today from the fellow that was working the concession that the hours of operation at the skating rink are from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. on the days that they're open, and they're closed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And I guess my question to that is, I don't know if it's a liability issue, why we would have it closed on a weekend and not open up until 1 o'clock. And I guess I would like to ask that question through you to the corporate officer.
Thank you, Councillor Buckley, to the corporate officer.
Yes, through you, your worship, to Councillor Buckley. We can certainly include that in the report.
Thank you very much.
So did you make a motion or?
Well, the motion I made is that we put the roof on hold because it was just explained to me that they are looking for one. And before we decide, and once we have the costs, I know working in projects and things in the back, before we have the actual costs of it, before we do purchase something, I would like to see if the operational costs exceed the usage is what I'm looking for. So yes, my motion would be that we hold off on putting a roof on it before we get the report at the end of the season this year.
So we have a motion to cancel the roof on the rink. Do I have a seconder?
That's correct.
Okay. Do I have a seconder? Okay. Sorry. Corporate office.
I'll second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Councillor Bidell. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councillor Bidell.
Thank you. Just through you to our operations manager or to our corporate officer, whoever is able to answer the question. I know that the skating rink initially came from RMI funds. And can you confirm that if a roof was to be put on it, that would also come under RMI funds under that original proposal? And also, I do believe that the expansion of the rink this year was covered under RMI funds. Thank you.
Yes, you are correct. It did come from RMI funds and would be seeking approval to, as a matter of fact, it was part of our application to include covered for the rink under RMI this year.
Okay, thank you. So the difficulty is the quotes that you had gotten for the roof exceed the amount that was budgeted for under that under those RMI funds. Is that correct?
That is correct. The structure itself is quite onerous to set up and break down and quite costly to purchase. So all those factors were taken into consideration, and we haven't found a suitable option to date.
All right. Thank you. And one of the reasons I ask is, and also is, if we were to delay putting a roof on the rink, as Councillor Buckley has suggested, and possibly postponing that till a future date, would we lose that portion of the RMI funds that was designated for the roof? Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Badal. We would have to repurpose that funding. We would not lose it, but we would have to go through the process to repurpose it.
So that would need to be repurposed specifically to the skating rink then, correct?
Not necessarily, as long as it is applicable under the program.
All right, thank you very much. That's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vidal. Further discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Unanimously. So the motion to cancel the roof passes. So Councillor Councillor Buckley, did you also have a motion, or were you proposing a motion for the annual costs? of the
Mr.
operation?
Mayor, what I was proposing was to direct staff to get back with us after this season is over. I don't know if you need a motion for that, but if I do, that's what I'm proposing. And also if the question of the opening time as well, if that could be sort of sooner than later, because if we can open 7 days a week, we might as well maximize the skaters out there for sure. So maybe that would be a different part that we could maybe get back to by next meeting. And the first part wouldn't be until the end of the skating season.
So a motion then for the costs, the annual cost of actually maintaining and running the rink.
That's correct.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that? Go ahead, Councillor Jackson, but your mic is off.
Anyway, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves here for budget items. And we're asking the staff to come up with numbers that we're not going to have until the season's over. And I don't want to impede them because I'm looking forward to seeing all the kids skating at the rink. I know it's not ideal, but we all don't live in front of a big lake where you can go skating on it. I think we're jumping ahead of the gun here. We're asking staff to do something that they really can't do until it's all over. And we're now getting into 2023's yearly budget. We will determine then what's feasible. It's possible that if any of you ever worked for a circus at any time when you were young, they put up these big tents over big facilities that open on the sides. Maybe that would fit in there, and it might not be very costly. So I'm just cautioning on this particular one. I'll vote in favor of Councillor Buckley's motion, but I don't want to start hamstringing the staff for something that we'll be dealing with in the budget time. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor, any other question, Councillor Buckley?
Through you to Councillor Jackson, Mr. Mayor. I think what I'm looking for, Councillor Jackson, is not to put staff at a lot of work. This wouldn't come until the end of the season. So when it does come for budget time, we can look and see if it's feasible to continue running the rink. I had no intention of shutting it down this season at all. Yeah. And when you can look at it's pretty hard to look at a blank sheet of paper and decide anything. So that's why I was asking if we could get an approximate amount of users. You know, if it's overwhelming, so be it. There's no decision then. But if nobody is using it and the costs are, you know, out of this world, I guess we have a decision to make. And that's why I was asking for the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Councillor Riddell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Wondering if we do receive the report that a more lengthy discussion on this skating rink would just be covered in a scheduled committee of the whole meeting where we could discuss it a little bit more in depth. Something to consider, and with that I'll put a motion forward to have the next scheduled committee of the whole meeting that the report that you requested, Councillor Buckley, be delivered there for some further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, but there's still a motion on the table to actually track the cost. I think Councillor Buckley is not looking to stop anything. He's just looking to simply start tracking what the costs are for the operation and the maintenance of the actual rink. Councillor Buckley.
That's correct.
So
I'm just looking for it. And when we get that report, then we can deal with it at that time, be it in the committee of the whole or in council, whatever works best.
So the motion on the table was to track the cost of operating, maintaining the rink. And did I have a Did I have a second or? Second by Councillor Facio. And discussion. So call the question. All in favor? Passes unanimously. The next. Sorry, Councillor Buckley, you finished with your items? Okay.
Yes, I did. And it was just that I asked that we get our report back on the times for our next meeting, or if they have it any sooner, that could be just sent out. And the times were the reason for why it is closed those 2 days and for why it's a 1 p.m. start. I guess so if it's a Saturday or a Sunday morning and the kids are there trying to skate, I guess they're not allowed to. I'm not sure what the rules are over there, but the fellow said it was closed.
Corporate officer, please.
Yes, I think the operations manager can answer his question.
Thank you. We did put an ad out for a few weeks and we only had 2 applicants. And the gentleman that's there now was one of them. And there was another person that we actually offered the position to initially, and she turned it down. So the challenge is trying to staff it, and staffing it for 7 days a week is obviously too much for one person. So we're still actively looking. If we could have it running for the 7 days a week, we would. We tried to narrow it down to the days that we would expect, or in the past from our 2019 years, that the Tuesday and Wednesday were the lowest uptake. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday were the higher usage days, and it was typically in the afternoon and evening. So that's why we went with the 1 to 9 p.m.
Mr. Mayor, through you to the operations manager. I guess I'm going to ask the question, would it be possible to be able to free skate without the concession being open? So if I brought my skates along or somebody else had their own skates, could they then go on the rink and skate?
Absolutely. If you have your own skates and it's the concession does not need to be open for you to use it.
Okay. Is there a sign there that says something about I didn't see a sign when I was talking to the young lad. So
if I'm not mistaken, it's on the website.
Okay. Could we maybe, and the website says it's closed?
No, it says it's open if you bring your own skates.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Okay. And do we need something maybe at the rink itself? Does it say there that it's closed, or?
I could review and add something if.
That would be great, even
yeah.
like a bulletin board or something that wouldn't be too costly, and because that would be great. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
That was my question.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're good with that?
I'm good.
Thank you, Councillor Buckley. So the next item, I would like to reestablish the Communities in Bloom. So I'm asking for a motion for staff to work with Councillor Jackson on the recreation of the Communities in Bloom Commission. Do I
second that motion?
Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Buckley, second by Councillor Facio. Discussion. Councillor Buckley.
Having lived here when the Communities in Bloom was in effect, was a definite plus for the village. The place never looked so good. And for all the work and effort that all the members did in the past, kudos to them, especially Councillor Jackson, because I know you're an integral part of that. And we owe you a debt of gratitude. So I support it 100%.
Thank you, Councillor Buckley.
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Facio.
Well, those words as well, as I was involved from the beginning with Councillor Jackson, had a great committee, and that also initiated, which hope that does come back, the Garden of the Week as well. That used to be, they would have the judges go around and pick a Garden of the Week during the summer months, and they would have a little sticker on their garden and have the photograph taken of the garden and in the newspaper. So it was part of the addition to Communities in Bloom, but I believe we did extremely well over the years that the Communities in Bloom is in force, and it's a lot of work. We need a good committee, but I think it's a worthwhile area for this committee to move forward on. And I support it 100%. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Facio. Any other discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Passes unanimous. Next item for committees, the age-friendly commissions. I am submitting a motion for staff to work with the mayor on the creation or reestablishment of our age-friendly commission. Do I have a mover? Moved by Councillor Buckley.
Seconded, Mr.
Seconded,
Mayor.
sorry. Seconded, thank you, Councillor. Seconded. Discussion. Councillor Bedell, is your discussion? You got your mic is on. That's
My apologies, Mr. Mayor.
you're playing me. Call the question. All in favor? Passes unanimously. One last committee. So to establish a new Harrison Hot Springs Environmental Advisory Commission. Motion for staff to work with the mayor on the creation of a Harrison Hot Springs Environmental Advisory Commission. Do I have a seconder? Second by Councillor Buckley. Discussion? Councillor Bidell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wondering if I could ask you to elaborate a little bit more on what you see the terms of reference for that committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. The Advisory Commission on the environment would be community-based advisory board comprising of up to 7 volunteer representatives. The mandate is to provide advice to the Village of Harrison Hot Springs Council on administration issues and concerns to the community. It would be used to assist council in establishing goals and policies to achieve a more sustainable environment for the Village of Harrison Hot Springs. And it would also generate independent and credible information on key environmental issues and trends. I would also anticipate and advise council and staff of potential problems and opportunities for environmental sustainability.
Thank you, Mayor Wood.
Any other discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Passes unanimously. Last item, let me see, is regarding snow removal. I have a motion I'd like to put for staff to perform a pilot project for plowing snow into the center of the road instead of into the driveways, and to send letters to all the residents on a 1-block section on Naismith. In the block of Naismith and Eagle. You did too. He's a paramedic. They've had 5 heart attacks on that 1 block. The snow blocks them in. The paramedics show up. The paramedics have a difficulty getting them in and out of I guess the ambulances. Obviously people that have a heart attack aren't out there shoveling the snow, so they're having difficulty. So they've actually, again, it sounds like with Councillor Facio here, asked if the village would consider plowing the snow to the center, and then that would mean everybody would have to go in around the block. And they all felt that that would be a good alternative to having their driveways blocked. So again, if I can repeat the motion. So the motion is again for staff to perform a pilot project for plowing the snow in the center of the road at Naismith, that 1 block, and to send letters to all residents advising of same. Do I have a seconder? I'm always looking this way. Councillor Buckley. Yeah. Sorry, call the question, or sorry, no, sorry. Discussion, please.
Yes,
Discussion,
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor.
I would like to, through you, to our operations manager, just before I support this, and I can see no issue why I wouldn't, but I would like to ask the question if it's doable without blocking the road. I have no issue with driving around and coming back up, but I would like to ask the operations manager if that's something we can do.
Thank you, Councillor Buckley, to the operations manager.
Can you clarify? I wasn't clear exactly in the area of, are you talking the loop of Naismith on the west side of Eagle?
It's on the, it would be on the west side of Eagle, closest to, because where Naismith is closest to McCombs Bridge, which is the newer area with the curb.
So the south portion, the newer portion of the subdivision, larger.
That would be the north side of Naismith.
The north side or the south side?
The north side. The south side doesn't have any curb and gutter, and that goes down.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, to make it easier, it'll be from the Altendorf Bridge to Eagle Street.
Okay. The challenge with, depending on the, to answer your question, Councillor, the challenge is the amount of snow that we end up with. If we're occupying the center of the road, then that means that there will be absolutely no street parking. Currently, if it, I mean, obviously the snow is going to impact parking on the shoulder, but if that was the case, then of course, then we're not going to be able to have parking on the side of the road.
Thank you very much. One more question through you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Has the fire department given the go-ahead for this in case they have to get through and have to whistle down there and not be able to get through with a fire truck?
Yeah.
If we do get a great big dump of snow, which can happen as of the last few years here, that would also be a concern. And like I say, I'm not against it, but if somebody's house is on fire and they can't get to it because we blocked the road with great big snowbank going on, that might not be such a good idea either.
Thank you, Councillor Buckley. To the operations manager, please. Please comment.
I believe the fire department has not been advised, and I might recommend maybe the BC Ambulance Service because obviously that will impact their service as well.
Back through you, Mr. Mayor, I would feel a lot better if we could talk to the fire chief and, as you said, the ambulance service, just to make sure. Hopefully we've got another month and a bit before the snow hits, but if so, I would be, there's no reason I wouldn't be in favor, but my concern is the blocking of the road and letting the emergency equipment get through.
Thank you, Councillor Buckley. It was, even though the recommendation did not come through the ambulance service, but it came through somebody that operates ambulances. The ambulance is no wider than our snow plows. That section of the road is quite wide. It would clearly not obstruct an ambulance and a fire truck, but we could add on to this amendment that part of this pilot project it receives the okay from the fire chief.
Thank you very much. I would feel a lot better doing that, and then we've kind of crossed our T's and dotted our I's here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Jackson.
Councillor Jackson, please use your microphone.
We've already had this program where we did plow to the center of the road and Cottonwood and Drifted and other places. It worked really, really well. A few people got confused at first and went the wrong way,
right.
But there was plenty of room for fire trucks and everything. Yeah. And it saved a lot of people, seniors especially, from having to continually do their driveway. So this is not rocket science. What I was told later on, after we did this successfully, that we didn't have the equipment where you could turn the blade one way or the other. Now, I'm not a technician, so I don't know about that part of it. Well, we don't really want to reinvent the wheel here. You know, we don't want to get too complicated because it does work. So I'll be interested to see what staff can come back on this, because if you have another heavy snowfall, it'll be that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Vidal.
Thank you, Mayor. Would I actually support Councillor Buckley's request just to run the idea through our operations. We are soon to receive a new piece of fire apparatus, and I'm not sure about the configuration of it or the size of it or whatever, but I would rely on Chief Todd's expertise. And again, I reiterate that with Councillor Buckley that it would make me feel most reassured if we could just run the idea by Chief Todd. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Facio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with everybody. There is a problem, obviously, for the older folks in the community to try and shovel snow. We do have 2 or 3 angels in the community who come out with their little ATVs and try to help people as best they can. But I'm just through you to the operations manager. I believe if we get a call from the ambulance service that they're going to a certain street due to an emergency call, I know in the past our staff have gone there right away with the backhoe to clear the area for that ambulance to go in. I know that happened last year or the year before when we had a problem. It had been Lackbird Crescent, that rings a bell in my mind, and that's the only time that we send somebody in if it's an emergency that the ambulance can't get into the driveway. Is that something that we're barking up the wrong tree?
In my 2.5 years here so far, we haven't sent anybody out to clear a driveway so far.
Okay, it wasn't so much the driveway, it was just the entrance to the road that was piled up with snow so that the ambulance could get in. But anyway, that's another area. I think the pilot idea is a good idea. Besides ambulances or fire trucks, we only have one heavy duty truck, pickup truck, that would have to start picking up the snow and taking it somewhere after a while. As you pile the snow so high, it does fall down. It doesn't stay up there. There's nobody holding it, but it does start to go. So in most cases, I know they tried this out in Agassiz once, and that was the problem they had there, was removing the snow from the center for the next snowfall. So there is problems, but I think that they should be looked at. And lots of folks out there who cannot clean their driveway because they're too old to do it, or they don't want to end up with a heart attack. And so I think the suggestion of try one area out first, but I believe we're not going to get any snow, so we may not have that problem. But yeah, I agree with Councillor Jackson, Councillor Buckley, and Councillor Vidal on all the areas they've covered. But let's start and see if we can do this. If we can, that's fantastic. The only areas, of course, that cannot be cleared is the older parts of Harrison where it hasn't got the wide streets like when the subdivision was built. In places like Pine and Emerald and Echo and even Naismith, the old part that's too narrow, then they don't have the width that the newer, I call the newer, I mean, it's over 40 years old, subdivision has. But anyway, that's my piece. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Facio. I think that there's enough areas in this village that we could possibly look at changing to, but to do this one block area again as a pilot project would be a good start. So I'm going to read the motion again then. So the motion is for staff to perform a pilot project for the plowing snow into the center of the road for one block area of Naismith send letters to all of the residents upon approval from the fire chief. Do I have, I'm sorry, I already have a, I know, do I have a?
Secretary, Your Worship.
Yes, okay, but I did a bit of an amendment there, but do I need to do a seconder for the amendment? Or just,
So if you,
Just call the
if it's a friendly amendment.
just
I-
call the
yeah.
question? Okay, call the question, all in favor? Unanimously. Next order of business, please, Corporate Clerk.
Yes, Your Worship, if you have no further new business, the next item is number 15, questions from the public pertaining to agenda items only. And Tyler, would you see if anyone appearing by Zoom has a question? If anyone is attending via Zoom, if you would like to ask a question, please use the raised hand feature.
So, go. Would you like to stand up at the? Thank you.
Excuse me, I'll turn on the mic for you.
There
Thank you,
go.
Mr. Mayor. I
Thank
did
you.
not register a question, but I'd like to go back to that
Sure.
snow plowing on Naismith. Why just Naismith? My husband and I both have heart problems. We had to shovel snow and he had to end up in the hospital because an ambulance couldn't get to him because your snow plows keep blocking our driveways. We clear it and then they keep blocking it. So I'd like to have it on all the streets because you have a lot of citizens here that are elderly, they're disabled, they can't even get to the driveway to shovel it. And you have a lot of people that have health issues that just can't get out there every time they're blocking it off. And I did chat with one of the drivers and he said he was told that they had to do it that way, even though he said there isn't, they can lift it up and they can bypass the driveway and then keep going. So I would like to know, why are we specific with Naismith when there is other residents that have the same issues and we can't have it on our streets? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. The reason it was Naismith, it was a 1-block section of Naismith and it was just to do a test, just to see how well it worked out before it would be implemented in a village-wide, because there may be equipment that's necessary for it. There's unknowns. So that was why the reason of it, just 1-block area. Does that help you? Does that answer your question? It's just, again, it's just a 1-block area, just to get an idea of it, if it's going to take additional time, additional equipment to do it. How does it work out as Councillor Facio was talking, the build up in the middle of the road? Is it something that's feasible here? I think that's something that would come in this trial. Is there any other questions? Sorry, go ahead, Councillor Buckley.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
I live in a cul-de-sac and they pile the snow in the middle of our cul-de-sac. And sometimes that pile gets to be upward of 8 feet high. And that is my concern, as Councillor Fascio said, was that if it does get that high, you will not be able, if it starts tumbling down as well. So that's why they're going to do it in the one spot and see how, and it all depends on snowfall. And I come from Alberta and there is no magic cure for it. You just basically, what they do there is just haul it away because you can't leave it in the middle of the streets because after a while it becomes impassable. So I think that's the reason that we're just going to give it the one try this time, but hopefully that we can all do it. I would love to see it too, because it happens in my driveway as well. I go out there and shovel and back out again. I come, but that seems to be the only way to do it. And maybe we could ask the operations manager as well, if it's possible, like you said, to lift the bucket so it doesn't plug it again. I'm all for that, and I'm sure everybody else is too. So maybe through you, Mr. Mayor, to the operations manager, would it be possible to ask staff when there is time or whatever that we could ask them just to leave the driveway and not fill it back in where they're coming back the second time?
I could just discuss that with my crew, but I can't promise anything.
No, that would be great. And I know it's not possible to get every little piece of snow off there, but maybe just to take a little bit extra time if we can afford it and make things a little easier for everybody, that would be great.
I think the challenge is the time,
Yes.
because we're limited staff typically when snowfall happens, and we're trying to clear all the roads and try and service everybody as well as possible. Of
I
course,
understand.
to modify practice will take longer, and there may be places that don't get snow removal in a timely fashion. I'm quite proud of the crew. They do quite a good job. And within a day of a snowfall, pretty much every street here is clear.
So you are very lucky. I've lived in other places where you don't see the snowplow. So yeah, we appreciate everything you're doing for us, and the kudos to your staff as well. Thank you. So we will try, see what we can do for you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions, please?
My question is to do with the rink. And I'm wondering, is there a cost for kids to use the rink? Like if they don't have skates, is there a charge or a rental fee on skates?
I can answer that question.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Yes. When the concession stand is open, skate rentals and helmets are available. Adult skates are $8 for rental. Children's skates are $5. And helmets rental price is $2.
Okay, I just have a suggestion for council to bring up. I think that all the kids in Harrison residents in the elementary school and secondary kids who would be interested, that through the schools, they'd be given some kind of a pass, because I think it's really sad that there's very, very little for children to do in the village of Harrison. And the way things are going right now with costs, there are many, many parents who are having trouble putting food on the table. They're not going to be able to pay for skate rentals and helmets. And it makes me really sad to see local kids watching other people scooting around the rink, and they can't. So I'd like you to look into seeing if there's some way that could be accomplished. And there would be some families that wouldn't even want it. And if it was distributed through schools, then it would be the children who would want it and who would use it, who would apply for that little pass. So just a suggestion. Thank you.
Great suggestion. Thank you. Is there any other questions? Yes.
Thank you. This follows nicely on this lady's comment in regards to the skating rink. I'd like to suggest a parent group that is willing to volunteer for the skating rink. They can possibly mitigate the costs of staffing it. They could allow the skating rink to be open longer. And I'm sure there's enough people in the community or possibly sporting goods stores that would be willing to donate some used equipment so that the children could actually skate for free or lower cost. And in regards to the RMI funding for a permanent roof, since it can be repurposed, I would like to suggest and would like to know if Councillor Buckley has considered the cost of the skating rink roof actually be put towards a permanent sheet of ice in the community, and possibly allow people to be able to use it for curling and allow seniors to further get out and have some fitness and exercise and socialize and allow other people to skate possibly year round rather than having to take it down, put it up and whatnot. Something else that can be considered if it hasn't already that might be more cost effective for our little village would be to consider flooding part of the boat launch parking lot. That is only used relatively seasonally because it's a cold lake. If you were to flood the parking lot as you would do in Alberta or Ontario, you could essentially create a bigger rink for lesser cost, and you could tag team off of maybe Chilliwack that would be willing to make some sort of concession for a Zamboni rental or whatnot. So those are something to consider.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I like what you said at the beginning. I think, you know, if you could contact me, you've got my contact information, we could talk about the committee. I think that's a great idea. And I'm all for the kids to get them out there and use them. As far as the freezing of the rink, I'm from Alberta and we do not have enough cold days to substantiate that ice for any time. It's very unfortunate. And the trick is here, I sat on the tourism board for a number of years. And the thing is to bring people in the off season because it rains here.
Yes.
I was on council in Alberta, we could organize things outside. All we did was build the fire a little bigger or put on an extra parka. And we could do that here. It is a real challenge.
Yes.
And so as far as freezing it, not so much maybe, but I would love to hear you and talk to you. And if you don't have my contact information from my brochure, I would be happy to give it to you after the meeting.
Thank you. Something else I'd like to consider in regards to the skating is if any professionals have been approached. Canada has a number of well-known figure skaters. So perhaps they might be willing to come and do some sort of tourism, Harrison promotion in regards to the skating and tourism itself. Perhaps Mr. Elvis Stoker could be approached. There's a number, the fellow from Caroline, Alberta, his name escapes me at the moment. Anyway, well-known skater. So things like that to consider. So whether or not I'm having a suggestion or a question, I'm sorry, I apologize if I'm not too formal that way. But also in regards to the soft recycling, since GFL has the contract, could you not consider renting a bin from them and have a central mini recycling depot for the village of Harrison?
That's a great, it's an idea and it's something I think that staff will be working on. Unfortunately, the person that's most knowledgeable in it is not back, I believe, until next week. So again, the staff are working at that, and that has been a suggestion that's been offered, and it sounds like a good interim option.
Okay, and my last thing is also in regards to communities in bloom. I think that's a great idea, and I'm looking forward to that. That's something that I've had in the back of my head as well. You could also approach someone like Mr. Brian Minter to come and do some sort of gardening seminar or something, perhaps to bring people to town. But there's really, I have so many ideas for this place. I'm just not quite sure how to get them out. But our village is falling behind. We have so much to offer, but we're not capitalizing on it. So I would just like to maybe put out some sort of survey for the residents to see what they would like to see in terms of suggestions to bring the tourism, because that's our primary industry, if I'm not mistaken. And without the tourists, then the costs of running this place fall to the taxpayers. So the other suggestion that I've got, I'm sorry if I'm taking up too much of your time, but for the winter season, you could suggest something like horse-drawn carriage tours through the village. I think that would be lovely. And there's, I don't know. I'm new to this, but anyway, I love this little place. We've lived here almost 3 years, but I'm just really sad to see how it's falling behind. We've got a lot of ideas that we need to get out from people here, and we need to get going. Thank you.
Great questions, and thank you for your comments on you're right. The village does have a lot of very talented people here with some great ideas. One of my goals is to get groups together, some sort of community events where we can feel free and discuss, just as you're talking right now. And these ideas are all very valuable to our small village. And it's really important, I think, that we hear all of the ideas. So it's, again, I thank you for bringing that to our attention, and I think as mayor and council here that we'll be working towards that very strongly. Thank you.
I have one last thing. Thank you. In regards to small businesses here, that's the other thing that we need to protect and encourage. And as someone that has lots of ideas to get a small business going, I'm finding it very hard to get funding. I've approached a couple of business development centers, and I've been told I cannot get funding unless I've got X amount of dollars and my business has been going for at least 1 year. It's like the old adage, how do I get a job if I can't get experience? I can't get experience because I can't get a job. So I'm not sure how Harrison can fix that or help that, but I've talked to a couple of other people that are kind of in the same boat. And since COVID, all of their money and cost of living has gone out the window. And my husband and I can no longer afford to even entertain starting business. So thank you.
Do any councillors?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Mr.
Go ahead,
Mayor?
Councillor.
Thank you. I believe we passed a motion this evening regarding the Community Futures North Fraser. They are the people who fund small entrepreneurial businesses. Maybe that's an avenue that these people may like to move forward on. And we will have a liaison person on there at some point. In regards to how the village can help, as you know, under Section 24 of the Community Charter, the village cannot loan money to people to start up their businesses in any way. That's only for a non-profit. So that's not a viable solution to help people to start a business. But this Community Futures, they've been doing it for years, and they do help businesses with small amounts of money to get them going. So it might be an idea, although it wasn't, for them to approach the North Fraser in regards to starting up a business. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Fidel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Just.
Oh, sorry.
Councillor Brecker.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Through you to the resident who spoke about difficulty in starting a small business. If you're here tonight, I will be representing the village on Community Futures Fraser. I don't know whether you had an opportunity to read through our agenda, but the letter that was forwarded to council does indicate that it's a nonprofit group, and they provide support to small businesses through a $3 million loan fund by providing business advisory services and through our participation in community economic development projects. So once again, as Councillor Buckley indicated, I'm not too sure what's quite involved, and I probably will not be attending a very first meeting for a while yet. But when I do, if you would like to get in touch with me, and I can at least be able to explain a little bit more to you what the program is about and maybe what they offer. Would that be helpful to you? Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Buckley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. One more thing, I was appointed to the Chamber of Commerce as a liaison tonight, and what I could do is put you in touch with the chair of the chamber and see if there's any avenues that he could possibly help you with as well. These are all the business people in Agassiz Harrison, so that might be of help too. So please get a hold of me after the meeting.
Yes, any other questions?
I don't remember which agenda item this would fall under, but it's with regards to the lights around Harrison. And I know tourism has done a fantastic job of putting things up, and Saturday night was wonderful. However, I will say that I had a family member who's been coming out for many years. And the very first thing she said to me is, where are all the lights? And the thing is that if you go down Esplanade, it's always been really lit up. And as you drive into Harrison from the Husky right down to the waterfront, all those trees have always been really lit up. And this year, it's very dark. And that was noted. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And then walking around, we heard a few other people making the same comments. So my question is, does the village plan on adding to the lights? All the willow trees were wrapped, and it just looked like it wasn't lit up the way it usually is. Is that operations, or I'm not sure.
Operations manager.
Thank you for your question. Yeah, it has been a challenge this year trying to, I believe the lights on the lake is a week earlier than last year or in the past. And we've been plagued with staffing issues. So we are adding day by day. You'll notice that the corridor on Hot Springs Road has been done. But we are, you'll see probably by the end of this week and the beginning of next week that things will look much brighter out there.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes. Do I have a mover for adjournment? Councillor Facio, Buckley. Call the question. All in favor? Passed unanimously. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Great questions.